Okay, so we lost the Apex accounts, and I thought I'd make this video kind of highlighting some of the things I did right versus some of the things I did wrong. Which, at the end of the day, the things I did wrong was I basically gambled. So I stopped following my rules, broke some of my rules, and I gambled on some setups that weren't actually there, right? But we started off good. This first trade here was pretty solid, right? It's the first bear plane setup after a hourly trigger break. All the triggers line up bearishly here. We have the first retest towards the 5-minute trigger before price closes down below the 1-minute trigger for a bear plane setup. Okay, this here would have been a fake out, right? And this is kind of a good example of why I typically like to wait to see 5-minute velocity to start decreasing again before an entry, right? So you want to have this confirmation, and you want to see it decrease pretty significantly so that you can be confident that once you enter on a candle close below the 1-minute trigger, that you're going to see acceleration to the downside, right? Because sometimes you'll get something like this, right? So a very slight decrease, and that typically means you'll get some chop, right? So you won't see price accelerate once it breaks back below the 1-minute trigger. But a nice little decrease like this is obviously better to see. Right, like I said, this here would have been one of these entries here with any of these candle closes below the 1-minute trigger would have been a fake out. I waited till this candle here, and typically a candle like this will stop me out. The reason I stayed in is because 5-minute velocity saw another nice decrease to the downside. So I figured that this wouldn't, right, keep going up here. I waited it out. It played out nicely. I got out of this pretty quickly. It was a quick little scalp, and this was just me kind of trying to get a feel for the Trade of It platform, because of course I usually trade options on Thinkorswim, and I just kind of wanted to get a feel. I wanted to get a feel for contract sizing, right? How big or small I should be going with the entries, which this was a pretty big learning experience for me, trading futures here. So this is a solid trade. I got out of it pretty quickly, and yeah, solid start to the accounts here. So this was the next day on crude oil again here. This was a quick scalp, wasn't a high confidence setup. I kind of took this just thinking, like I said, thinking it was going to be a very quick scalp. So the reasoning behind this is the fact that we have price attacking the hourly trigger here, while hourly velocity is still strongly negative, right? So I basically just took the loss of the 1-minute trigger, and I got out very quickly, right? So I mean, this literally, I think I got out once this candle came into the 5-minute strength here. But yeah, this did not have 5-minute velocity divergences. I was purely just going off of the fact that it was making 1-minute divergences here, right? So this is the highest 1-minute velocity print. I mean, this is really, but it was before market open, so I didn't consider that. Price came and I mean, made a few new highs here before losing the 1-minute trigger and attacking the hourly trigger. So I just took the breakdown and I got out very quickly. Very quick trade. I didn't share this because it wasn't high confidence, right? Typically for these hourly rejection trades, I like to see the 5-minute trigger be a lot farther from price, right? Because this was 2 candles here, and you already in the 5-minute strength, so that's not super high confident, and that's why I took very small size on this and got out very quickly. This here, again, is not a proper setup, so I did not share this. I kind of just got into this for a quick scalp based on the fact that hourly velocity is very well, not strongly positive, but it's positive while price attacks the hourly trigger, comes back up, mounts the 1 minute trigger, and at 5-minute velocity saw a significant repair here. So this was the main reason why I got into this trade, right? Is because price came up, mounted the 1 minute trigger, taps the 1 minute trigger. I got out right at the 1 minute. I got in at the 1 minute trigger, while 5-minute velocity saw significant repair, right? So like I said, there's a lot of importance behind 5-minute velocity repairing this significantly versus when it's doing something like this, right? So seeing very slight changes. This tells you price is going to accelerate, which it did, right? It didn't see a huge move, and I mean this move did continue without seeing a candle close below the 1 minute trigger, but I got in and out very quickly just because this is not it's technically not a proper setup, right? So hourly trigger rejection trades, like I mentioned earlier, I like to see the 5-minute trigger be farther away from price on an entry like this. I also like to see the 1 minute trigger come down into the hourly trigger more and kind of see the simultaneous mount of both triggers at the same time. Okay, so this here is not a proper setup, and I also didn't take this, but I think there's a lesson in here, right? Kind of relating to what I was speaking about when it comes to the 5-minute velocity change, right? So this is not a proper airplane setup or plane setup, but what you do get here is really tight triggers. You get 1 minute divergences, right? So price is posting new lows here while 1 minute velocity is repairing, and you get a significant increase in 5-minute velocity while price is mounting back above the 1 minute trigger and the 5-minute trigger here. I think that's significant, right? So you see the increase, price is still hanging out right above the 1 minute trigger. This would have been a great entry with stops right below the both the 1 minute and the 5-minute trigger. This didn't see any drawdown, right? So it immediately visited the hourly trigger here. No reason to get out of this trade, right, until you see a decrease in 5-minute velocity, which would have been over here. So I mean, I really wish I would have taken this, but I definitely missed this. But again, like I said, I typically do not take things like this. I think that the only reason I'm showing this is just to signify the importance of the change in the 5-minute velocity while price is mounting the 1 minute trigger. This is just a quick scalp. This is kind of the first bear plane setup after price breaks the hourly trigger. The reason I say kind of is because typically I like to see the 1 minute trigger kind of come up closer to the 5-minute trigger here before a setup. All right, so it wasn't the tightest triggers, but it was a quick scalp. I'm glad I didn't hold this just because I would have been stopped out up here. But just a quick little scalp. So I think I kind of front ran the next velocity print. Okay, I entered like one of these two candles. I got out very quickly down here. I think I maybe saw the fact that 5-minute velocity didn't decrease that significantly. And apart from that, of course, we weren't that close, right? So it wasn't a tight trigger setup. So I got out very quickly. And I definitely would have been stopped out here. So this is the play of the week here, right? So that I sold way too early. That's all right. I'm not mad at it. I think I read this pretty good still. It's just the fact that I didn't hold on to runners, which would have seen an amazing run here in return. But it's kind of the first airplane setup after price breaks the hourly trigger, right? Even though this kind of is here, it just wasn't the tightest setup, but it did see hourly velocity confirmation here, so this could have still been a confident entry, but triggers were tighter here. Okay, I initially entered this and got stopped out. This candle faked me out here, and got nervous and I got out. I think, so I mean, this here didn't have 5-minute velocity confirmation. 5-minute velocity kind of stalled out here, and then here's where you saw a huge increase. So I think I got out this candle. There's nothing about this 5-minute velocity print that told me to get out. I really should have stayed in, or at least held on to some runners, but I still saw some good profit here. And at this point, I think I was like halfway through the profit goal for the account. Yeah, this was a solid trade. I think the most important thing to notice here is the fact that hourly velocity is seeing some really nice steady increases here. So this is a very nice increase from the last hourly velocity print. And if you do your 3-hour look back, right, it's sitting way above this velocity print here. But so I mean, the other thing is just the fact that price is not extended, super extended from the hourly trigger here. Right, so a lot of things were going for this trade. I think the only thing that was kind of missing is the fact that it did not have 1-minute velocity divergences. Yeah, solid setup. This setup here, right, I think the most important thing to note about this setup is the fact that this hourly velocity print is a capitulation type of print. Right, this happens, right, where you don't see follow through on an airplane setup, right, even though you have what might seem like a very nice hourly velocity confirmation, but this typically ends up being the highest print out of all of the hourly velocity prints, which, I mean, it was in this case. So yeah, typically this happens, price is pretty extended already. You think you have a really nice hourly velocity confirmation for an entry on a plane setup, but doesn't usually see a lot of follow through. So I think that's what I read poorly, is the fact that I was thinking this was just a nice increase. You kind of want to see gradual increase in hourly velocity. You don't want to see it basically have a print like this and then the next print being like more than double the previous print. Typically that just means that price kind of has topped out for the time being. But yeah, I entered on this candle here. I thought this was gonna see a nice follow through because it was a really quick candle, and I got stopped out here. Okay, real quick here, just to keep this video shorter, but this is where the account started to take a turn for the worse. Okay, this was my first big loss on the account. That last play I didn't lose much, and at this point I was kind of like halfway through the challenge, but this was basically, I think this is an A+ setup that just didn't work out, right? So price breaks from a 3-trigger cluster. Okay, first revisit at the 5-minute trigger, we have hourly velocity confirmation here. What I did wrong was front run the entry, and I did it twice. So I got chopped up twice here. I took 2 big losses and erased a lot of the progress on the account. But I front ran this entry by basically not waiting for a candle close below the 1-minute trigger, right? But there's a lot of things going for me. So the fact that we have hourly velocity confirmation, we have really tight triggers here, no 1-minute divergences, right? But I did enter, I think, this candle here, got stopped out immediately. And then what I did wrong is revenge trade. So I tried this again. I think I tried this once 5-minute velocity decreased from this print to this print here, and I also front ran this entry. Okay, so I was not being patient here, and I did not wait for the 1-minute candle close below the 1-minute trigger, and I got stopped out twice there. Okay, so between those 2 trades, I think I was sized up way too much, right? So because I was revenge trading here, I think I took on bigger size, and of course I got stopped out, and this basically took away $1,000 from the account. So I was below where the account started at 25,000 on the 20 accounts, and at this point the account balances was $24,658. Okay, so I was not keeping in mind the fact that, of course, there's a trailing threshold. And so what I did the next day was gamble again, right? So this erased all of my progress based on the fact that I took a revenge trade, got stopped out, and of course I was sizing incorrectly here. Okay, so this was the trade that I took yesterday, and this was pure gambling. I was not following any rules here, and I also just was not paying attention to the trailing stops on the accounts, because what I did was basically take a late entry here on the loss of the 5-minute trigger, which isn't technically a setup, but sometimes this can work out just based on price being pretty extended from the hourly trigger and seeing 5-minute velocity decrease the way it is here. So it would have been a really nice trade if I took it up here, right, with stops right above the 5-minute trigger. Okay, I would have seen some really nice profits, but I entered late, and just this little retrace here basically stopped me out. So I didn't even manually stop this out. It was in a set stop loss that I had. I think what I had left of my trailing stops was like a $200 limit. And that's exactly what that did there. And this is what basically stopped me out of the accounts. So very poor judgment there on my end. Not a setup, so really shouldn't have taken it. I don't know if this followed any of my rules. This was literally just a gamble trade, just because I think maybe I just got impatient. So I'm sure there's a way to do this, but because I'm so used to doing manual stop losses, I'll stop out of a position once I see a candle close back above or below the 1-minute trigger. But I'm so used to using the active trader tab on Thinkorswim, and for me it's gotten easier over time to kind of gauge what my stop loss is in dollar amount, just because you can chart the options contract, and I kind of able to gauge that way. But I'm sure there is a way on Tradeovate to kind of see what your stop loss would be in dollar amounts, right? I think that's what would help me size in better into these futures contracts. So I'm gonna look into that, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna focus on my personal account for now, and just use personal account profits to maybe fund these 20 accounts again, to maybe reset the accounts again, or maybe I'll wait to the next Apex promotion to load up on these accounts again. So yeah, hopefully there's something to take away in this video. Hopefully somebody can learn from my mistakes here, but yeah.